Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atari Retrospective series. This is a series where I'll be covering the development and gameplay of every game released for the Atari 2600 in release order. Alongside the development and gameplay, I'll also be including my review of my time with the game. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you to today's game, which is Combat. Combat's roots lie in Tank, an arcade game designed by Steve Bristow. Tank pitted two players against each other in a maze, controlling blocky tanks that fired bouncing shots. It was a hit, but it was stuck in arcades. Atari wanted to bring that head-to-head thrill home. The task of adapting Tank for the 2600 fell to a small team, including engineers Joe DeCure and Larry Wagner. Their challenge? The Atari 2600 was a beast with limitations. Its 6507 processor ran at just 1.19 MHz, and it had only 128 bytes of RAM, less memory than a single text message today. Yet they had to deliver a game that was fun, replayable, and showed off the console's multiplayer capabilities. The team didn't just port Tank, they expanded it. Combat packed 27 game variations, including tanks, biplanes, and jets, each with tweaks like invisible vehicles or guided missiles. This wasn't just a game, it was a showcase of the 2600's of versatility, all squeezed into a 2 KB cartridge. Development wasn't without hurdles. The 2600's TIA chip handled both video and sound, but it demanded precise coding to render sprites and play audio in real time. The team used clever tricks, like flickering sprites for multiplayer, to push the hardware. The result? A game that felt impossibly polished for 1977. Now that we've covered the development of the game, let's talk about the gameplay. So what made Combat tick? At its core, Combat is a two-player arena shooter built for competition. Let's start with tanks, the heart of the game. Players control blocky tanks in a maze, firing shots that can bounce off walls. The goal? Land more hits than your opponent before time runs out. The controls are dead simple. Joystick to move, button to shoot. But the depth comes from strategy. Do you camp behind a wall and wait for the perfect shot, or charge in, dodging and weaving? The ricochet mechanic adds a layer of skill. Mastering angles can turn a rookie into a sharpshooter. Then there's the biplane mode, a dog-fighting dream. Set against a cloudy sky, players pilot planes that can loop and dive, firing rapid shots. Variations like cloud cover or squad-based play, where you control multiple planes, add chaos and replayability. Finally, the jet mode cranks up the speed. These matches are fast and unforgiving, with open arenas that demand precision. Variations like guided missiles let you steer your shot mid-flight, making every match a test of reflexes and cunning. With 27 variations, Combat offered something for everyone. Invisible tanks forced you to predict your opponent's moves, billiard shots rewarded geometry nerds, and squad-based modes turned duels into mini-wars. This variety kept players coming back with joystick in their hands. Now that we've covered the development and gameplay of Combat, let's get into my review. We're going to start by talking about the tank variation, which I feel is the highlight of this game. I found most of the variations to be a lot of fun, but there were some that I found to be more frustrating than fun. Most of the ones I found frustrating were the invisible tank variations that were on any of the mazes. This mostly comes down to the stiff controls of the game, which are even worse when you can't see which way you're moving. It made navigating the maze extremely hard, unless I was constantly firing to make the sprite pop up. Outside of the invisible variations, I didn't have many complaints. I felt like the tank variations were super solid. My favorite variation was the billiard shots on either the simple or complex maze variation. It showed me why this game was so addicting. Being able to line up the perfect shot and see it come to fruition felt very rewarding. Lastly, these variations felt the most pick up and play out of all of them. The other game modes had a steeper learning curve that I could see ruining the gameplay experience for people who don't play games much. My girlfriend played with me, who's not a gamer at all, and she was easily able to play the tank variations and even get some wins. Then, there's the biplane variation, which I found to be the least enjoyable of the three. The controls can have a learning curve that is pretty rough, and even after you learn it, it still doesn't feel very rewarding. It makes the gameplay itself feel very slow, even when you're trying to utilize the fast movement. The biplane variation has a clouds variation that adds an interesting layer, but I felt it was wasted in this mode. The shooting in this variation was especially hard to get down because you had to be so precise. The only thing that saved the shooting was the machine gun variation. This allowed me to just hold down the shoot button and fully focus on trying to get my opponent. Then there's the handicap variation, and these variations were by far the highlight of the biplane mode. The 1v3 and 2v2 variations were a lot of fun because it closed the skill gap on this mode a lot. It was much easier to hit my opponent because they had a much bigger hitbox, so we had a lot of high-scoring, enjoyable games. The biplane variations were the variation my girlfriend and I struggled with the most, but overall, we still had a decent time playing it. The last variation in combat is the jet fighter variations, and these variations feel like an improved version of the biplane. The controls for the jet fighter mode felt good and not nearly as confusing as the biplane variations. There was still a small learning curve, but after one game it was easy to control. This variation also utilized the clouds variation, and I felt like it was much better implemented here. I don't know if anything actually changed, but I contributed much more to an improved control scheme. The handicap variations were also present in this, and again, they were the most fun variations to play. The 2v2 in particular had me and my girlfriend having a lot of fun. The only thing I felt this game mode was lacking is the machine gun variation. I would have loved to be able to use that in a variation that has really solid controls. Overall, I think Combat is a super solid game, and I completely understand why it was the pack-in launch title. With its impressive technology and plenty of gameplay variety, I give this game a solid 7 out of 10. The big thing preventing this game from being higher on this list is the stiff controls. If the controls were a little more fluid, then it would have fixed a lot of my issues. I look forward to playing Combat again and getting better at the game over time. That's it for this episode of the Atari Retrospective, but there's still 524 games left. So, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you can catch the next episode. In the comments, let me know what your favorite Atari 2600 game is or your favorite memory about the console. And hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one.